talking postseason. We're giving you our postseason picks. We're walking through the bracket. This is the time that I put together my perfect bracket. By the way, my name's Jack. Peter will put together the imperfect bracket, and Aram will be somewhere in between. You've got all three of us on the Just Baseball Show on Thursday, October 6th. This is the one empty day on the baseball calendar, and then we launch headfirst into wildcard baseball. But first and foremost, gentlemen, we need to spend the first 20 minutes of this episode talking about Aaron Judge versus Barry Bonds, don't we?
What's the real home run record? Can you please offer your thoughts in your column on that?
Respectfully, I want to delete Twitter.
Miserable people. Miserable. Can we just appreciate what Aaron Judge is doing? There is no doubt that he's the American League record holder. That's really cool. There have been plenty of jokes that, what if this football player sets a record in the AFC, or what if this NBA player sets a record in the West? It's not quite the same as in Major League Baseball. First, Major League Baseball has a longer history than any of those sports. And second, home runs as a statistic, I think is one of the coolest statistics in all of sports. I just want to appreciate what Aaron Judge is doing without bringing in Barry Bonds.
So what I will say here, I agree with you. To add to that point, baseball is the one that hands out an American League MVP and a National League MVP.
Exactly.
The NBA, there's not an Eastern Conference MVP. There's an NBA MVP. There's not an NFC MVP. There's an NFC Offensive Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year.
Which makes no sense.
Which makes no sense. Like, there is an NFL MVP, an NBA MVP, and then an American League and National League MVP. So, yeah, I'm with you. The American League crown certainly means something. What I will say is I love that take from you saying that home runs are one of the coolest stats in all of sports. If we were to power rank stats, I have no idea where that would land.
What would land 486th? Holds. I actually wonder how many stats we could rattle off before a holds gets into the equation here.
What are name cooler stats in sports than the home run?
No, I mean, we're obviously like slightly biased given that we like baseball, so home runs are cool. But I will say, like, home runs, in terms of counting stats, I don't think there's much else cooler than that. I always thought interceptions were sick. I don't know what it is about guys that have the magical year where they pick the ball off like 12 times. Like, that's crazy.
But you should see NFL Twitter. Trayvon Diggs led the league in interceptions.
Oh yeah, they hate interceptions, right? It's a lucky stat.
People think he's the worst cornerback in the NFL. So it's home runs. I think points per game is always cool.
Points per game is always cool. Always cool. And it's always just even though the game has evolved, like, you just know more than 20, good. Over 30, really good. Like, I've always loved that too.
Speaking of which, how about 37 from Victor Wembanyama?
I watched the whole thing. Disgusting. Dude. Absolutely disgusting.
Are you on the hype train with me now? I've been singing his praises on this pod for a
minute.
Bro,
I'm going to be hunting his cards. I can't imagine what his cards are going to go for. He's the best basketball player I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
So this was tweeted out, and it was like, all the hype that he might be the best basketball prospect since LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
But then past that, it's like, oh, all right, do you believe the hype? And then you watch him play and you think to yourself, he's better than LeBron coming out. It's unfucking believable, Jack.
I've never seen anything like that.
7'5". He defends like Gobert. He's like Jokic. If Jokic had Gobert's defense and like 80% of Durant shooting.
Do you understand why his YouTube highlight compilations have been like my guilty pleasure, my late night binge for the last 4 or 5 months? He's a freakazoid. Ryan Russillo put out this tweet. How long is the list of players you wouldn't trade for Wembanyama? And I just have no idea. Like, that list is way shorter than I think you would expect it to be. But we're not going to go through that list. Again, we're a baseball podcast. We are going to go through the postseason brackets. And this is, one of those dates that you circle. This is one of those episodes that you say, okay, yeah, here are the picks. Let's fill out a bracket. It's what everybody wakes up for, ahead of that first day of the NCAA tournament selection Sunday. You wait till the selection show is over. You immediately print out your bracket or hop on a website and you fill out that bracket. That's what we want to do now that the field is set. And I think mine's going to be perfect.
I think mine's going to be perfect. So I came with it 2 different directions. I thought this morning, all right, I'm going to compile a bunch of statistics and I'm going to try and figure out, kind of like I did last year. Last year's bracket for me sucked. You know what I'm going on this year?
Feel.
feeling in my plums. These are
Yeah.
the plum picks.
Yeah.
My last name's Apple. These are the plum picks. This is my gut. I don't have any stats backing this up. I've watched millions of baseball games this year, and this is how I feel about
there have been millions of baseball games this year, I'm sure.
No, it's because I've watched every baseball game 15 times in preparation.
Oh, and we're not
Rewatch
talking
them.
condensed games. Like, you're not skipping commercials either.
Nope.
He actually watches them in slow motion.
He's picking up
so every game's 7 hours.
Is he trying to count the RPMs on
yes.
fastball each pitch?
Yes. He's writing them down.
Watched them all in slow motion. Yeah, so I don't have any stats. These are my field picks.
Okay.
My plum picks.
I mean, I'd say you got to go in the postseason.
Yeah,
right?
how are you going about this?
I'm doing a little bit of both. We're hybriding this thing.
Probably smarter.
Yeah, that's the way I'm doing it. But definitely some plum action here too. It's just you got to go with your gut when it comes to the postseason.
Jack, are you using the little X in front of everything?
I am using the little X. I'm also just kind of like, if my stomach turns when I say something, I'm probably going to rescind what I just said and go the other way. So I'm just going to go on feel in my gut. Like, if my stomach acid cooperates or not, that depends on my postseason bracket.
You're in your stomach. I'm in a lower region than my stomach, and arms in his head. Let's rock.
Okay. Let's start in the wild card series, right? You want to go American League or National League?
We always start with the American League. Let's go with the National League first.
Okay. 4-5 matchup is the Mets and the Padres at Citi Field in Queens. This will be some combination of DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett in that 3-game set. San Diego, I saw Mike Clevenger's just hit the injured list, so it's probably going to be Musgrove, Snell, Darvish. I saw the idea floated on social media, and I'm blanking on who tweeted it out, but if the Mets do win game 1 behind DeGrom, they may go Bassett game 2.
I 100% think that's what they should do. I was talking about that with one of our buddies, actually, me and Pete's friend Evan, about this recently, and Evan too. So yeah, all of our friends from Syracuse, Evan, and we were bouncing the idea back and forth. And I'm like, it's house money. If you win that game with Chris Bassett, it's done, right? If you win the first game, then you win game 2 with Bassett, you save Scherzer and you're good. If you lose that game, you had to go to Scherzer anyways, and you go to him in game 3. So it's an opportunity to save him, or, worst case scenario, you end up throwing him like you would have in game 2 anyways.
Now, if they lose game 1 with DeGrom on the hill, you go Scherzer.
Yes.
Like,
you have to
hesitate.
You have to. Yeah. But if you win game 1, house money with Bassett.
Okay. Let's start with you, Aram. How many games? Who wins?
Look, I think this a month ago, if you told me this was the matchup, I'm saying, okay, this is the Mets pretty easily. The way that Blake Snell has looked, the way that Joe Musgrove has kind of turned things around recently, we talked about that on the last episode. Peter and I did. The way that, we've seen this Padre, even Darvish has looked better as of late. I think this is going to be a tough one for the Mets. I really do. Ultimately, the home field advantage, what the Mets have been able to do this year, I think they're going to grind them out. But I think it's going to be a close series. I think we're all going to agree that the Mets end up taking it, though.
Yeah. How many games? 2 or 3?
I think it goes the full. I think it goes full 3.
I think the Mets win, but I am not confident in it. And the only reason I think the Mets win is because I think, there's plenty of reasons why I think the Mets win, but this is the most glaring one in my head. The Darvish-DeGrom matchup in game 1. Darvish has thrown 14 innings against the Mets this year. Do you guys know how many earned runs he's allowed?
No.
1. He's dominated the Mets.
This is your plums telling you this?
These are my plums. No,
okay,
I know. I'm bringing some numbers in, but it's because I have a dark feeling that the Padres could win that game 1 matchup.
I agree, especially with how DeGrom has looked lately. And not that he's looked atrocious, but he's looked human.
You know what? My plums are telling me Padres.
Okay.
I'm going with the Padres over the Mets in that wild card round. That's what my plums say.
Bro,
my brain says Mets. My brain says Mets. My plums say Padres. Give me the Padres.
How many times were you going to hear the word plums on this episode today?
More than once. You're going to hear plums.
Already have.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Padres, and I think they win it in 3.
Padres in 3. Aram's got Mets in 3. I'm going to say Mets in 3 as well. Team OPS since the All-Star break, the Mets are third. You got to scroll a little bit to find San Diego. They're outside the top 10 right now. And what I will say is the Mets, while they have been struggling without Starling Marte, as Ryan Finkelstein made evident on the Monday show, I mean, the San Diego Padres just don't have much cooking offensively right now. And I'm not sure who you can lean on because, yeah, I would obviously say Manny and Juan Soto, but which Juan Soto are we going to get? And I think that it's going to be really hard to craft an opinion on Juan Soto in a 3-game set. I don't think he steps up in the way that San Diego needs him to step up. I think that DeGrom beats Musgrove in game 1, if that's how it lines up.
I think it's going to be Darvish, though. That's my thing.
Darvish in game 1?
Yeah, that's apparently the listed starter. Like, I was on CBS Sports, on ESPN. It might be Darvish in that matchup. But the thing is, I think it's very important where they put Darvish in because of his dominance against the Mets. If they put Darvish in game 1, I think they can win that game against DeGrom and the Mets. And if they win that game, you have Blake Snell against a Mets team that has not been very good against lefties. And Blake Snell has been
shoving.
Has been shoving. And it's like the Mets are good against lefties. They're one of the best teams in baseball. But if you have to find weaknesses, it has been against left-handed pitching. And especially now without Starling Marte, if they can win that game with Darvish, they can win that game with Snell. I think I'm going to go with the Padres here.
No, I see it. I don't think it's like a crazy hot take at all. Like, technically speaking, it is, because I think most people would obviously stick with the Mets. But like I said, when I gave my opinion, I think it's going to be down to the wire, and I think the Padres are going to give them a pretty good punch here.
Yeah. I'm going to say, and like my stomach agrees with me as I think through this, DeGrom wins game 1. Snell throws game 2 against Bassett, who they start in game 2. Snell wins game 2, and then Scherzer wins game 3.
Yeah.
So Almond baseball knowledge would say that.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm a commoner. I'm a mainstream guy. I'm tired. Peter's wired. Cardinals Phillies is the 3-6 in St. Louis. I don't see a world that the Cardinals lose the wild card series in St. Louis with this being Yachty and Pujols last year.
Arm, you want to go first?
I agree. I don't see how it happens. I will say the only way is if the Phillies offense just goes crazy. And I don't know. I don't see it happening. I think the Cardinals at home with all the magic they've had, the way they've been playing all year long, especially in the second half, I don't see how the Phillies do this thing.
I say St. Louis in 2.
I'm going to go Cardinals in 3. I think Nola gets them a win. Nola has been good lately, especially that game against the Astros. You can't really find a bunch of better performances than I saw from him. I'm going to go, I think Nola gets them 1. I think this is going to be a high scoring series, but give me the Cardinals in 3.
So my thought is Nola already wasted his near perfect outing.
Okay. That's not a bad take. That's anti-commoner from you.
Yeah, I say that's more of the ambiguous analysis we're looking for here, Jack.
Yeah, that's all I am. I'm a whole bunch of ambiguous.
I will say the one way that the Phillies can really make this interesting is if Nola and Wheeler shove, right? It's a 3-game set. It's all it takes. And we know that they've got a lot more going with those two guys than the Cardinals do. But
I mean, Waino at Busch.
Yeah, I just saw Waino at Busch. Didn't look too good.
Yeah, but like that was against the Pirates on like a Sunday afternoon. I'm talking.
He's got dead arm. He's got dead arm. I'm worried.
Yeah, but he's had dead arm for the last 5 years.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair.
I think Michaelis is going to start game 1.
Oh,
gross.
Wait,
win that game against Wheeler?
Yeah, who's Miles Michaelis?
Yeah, I've never heard of Miles Michaelis.
We're going to talk about all of these individual games tomorrow, so I don't want to get specifically into that because we have all of tomorrow again to go over it. But I wouldn't count the Phillies out. This is going to be a competitive, high-scoring series where the Cardinals win out, and I really think it's home field advantage Cardinals, and that's what gives them the slight edge. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Guardians in Tampa in Cleveland, a 3-6. I like Cleveland, and I like it because of how they match up to the first 2 starters. I think Cleveland wins this series in 2. I don't think Tampa's offense can keep up with Bieber and Tristan McKenzie. I think we're going to see a stamp start from Tristan McKenzie. I think this guy is going to show the fuck up in the postseason.
I like that.
And I think that Cleveland is going to hit enough. I think that they're going to get a timely hit, whether it be from J-Ram whether it be from Andres Jimenez or whether it be from Oscar Gonzalez. And I think that Cleveland is going to win this series in 2.
I'm very interested to see who pitches game 2. Because similar to the Mets, the Guardians have had troubles against lefties this year, but they've just put up a 5 spot against Daniel Lynch, and they've been better against lefties than in the first half of the season. So that game against McClanahan certainly is tough, but it's not like McClanahan has been that good in the second half, and he's also been dealing with injuries. I'm interested to see if Drew Rasmussen is that game 2 starter. The Guardians have been very good against high strikeout guys with fastball slider combos. That's what the Guardians hit really well. I'm going to go the Guardians in 3 just because Quantrill's going to close it out at home.
Yeah, fair.
I think Guardians in 3. I think the Rays find a way to steal one with just the way they.
You think game 3 Quantrill's going to close it out?
I do, but I don't. I think it's. Yeah, I think he's going to find a way. He did just shove against the Rays the other day to solidify his 3.39 ERA or whatever it was.
3.38.
3.38, of course. Of course. And 4.5 FIP, which is great. But I think when you look at what the Guardians have done offensively too, as of late, I mean, you look at what their team's done. They're middle of the pack in the second half, but over the last month, a lot of their guys have just kicked it into gear, started really hitting the ball well. And J-Ram has not been J-Ram this year, and I really. Like Jack said, I think he's going to step it up on the big stage here. And it's pretty cool to see the Guardians picking him up this season with, you would have thought for them to do as well as they did this year. J-Ram was having an MVP season, which is the craziest part. I think he kicks it in gear in the postseason as well. And I am 100% in agreement on Tristan McKenzie rising to the big occasion here. I do acknowledge that he's young and this is a big stage, but he's kind of built for it. I'm excited to see what happens. This Rays offense just doesn't have it. Wander's been too banged up this year, doesn't have enough going for him right now. Their whole team's kind of banged up. I don't feel good about their bats.
And Jose Siri's probably only going to hit 4 homers.
Yeah, he needs to hit 6.
Everything that the Rays do, the Guardians do just as well, if not better. If we're talking about bullpens, the Rays bullpen, right? It's so amazing. Guardians bullpen might be better. The starting rotation with the Rays, it's super, super elite, but it's not like the Guardians can't compete with those starters either. And if we're looking at offense, the Guardians have the better offense and they have home field advantage. I think the Guardians close it out here. I would go Guardians in 2, but I'm going Guardians in 3 because of Cal.
Also, I don't think we're as far removed as people would like to admit from the Guardians being in the ALCS and in the World Series and inning away from the World Series. And I want people to remember how stupidly electric Progressive Field was in 2016. That place is going to get up for this thing.
And also, Terry Francona knows how to get his team ready for a series like this. Kevin Cash is a phenomenal manager, but Terry Francona is better. So I think almost every edge goes to the Guardians besides the starting pitching depth, which I don't know is as important in a 3-game series.
In a 3-game set, it doesn't matter, I don't think.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys have Cleveland in 3. I've got Cleveland in 2.
Love it.
Going to the 4-5, Toronto and Seattle in Toronto at Rogers Center. Alek Manoah is the confirmed Game 1 starter for the Blue Jays against what we expect to be Luis Castillo. Game 2, how would it match up? Gausman and Robbie Ray?
I think so.
And game 3, if necessary, would probably be...
I think Gilbert gets the ball.
Gilbert against Stripling?
Yeah, probably. Or Barrios. I think you might start Barrios there with an extremely short leash.
Oh, my God.
That's brutal.
Brutal.
That's horrible. I say Seattle in 3.
I see why you'd say Seattle in 3, and I'm almost inclined to go there because I think Seattle just has to beat either Manoah or Gausman, and I think they win game 3. But so do they beat those two guys?
When you say you see Seattle in 3, you see where I'm coming from. It's probably because you feel it in your nuts.
No, my problem is I feel Toronto in my plums.
Oh, then say Toronto, man. You told us you were going with the plum picks.
But in one plum, it's Toronto. The other plum, it's Seattle.
Ew. I just kind of feel this magic with Seattle. And like, I don't want to say Toronto is limping to the finish line, but it doesn't feel like they're running through the tape to the postseason like Seattle is.
Yeah.
And the pitching just totally skews the way of the Mariners right now.
Does it? In a 3-game series, does it skew the way of the Mariners when you have arguably the 2 best pitchers in this series on the Blue Jays?
I would take Castillo and Ray over Kevin Gausman right now, I think.
I'd take Gausman over Ray. I'd take Castillo over Gausman.
But Manoah, like, who
Manoah
wins
over everybody.
Okay, so
Manoah over everyone.
Let's say the Blue Jays win game 1 with Manoah. Then game 2, you have Gausman Ray. Who probably wins that?
Revenge game for Robbie Ray in Toronto?
They know him.
The elite bullpen of the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah. Is it going to matter if the Blue Jays beat up on Ray?
Are they? I don't know. I think Robbie Ray is going to turn in a decent start. But even if they do, everyone has such a short leash in the postseason. I think, especially with what the Mariners have in a 3-game set, I bet they yank Robbie Ray in the 2nd or 3rd if he runs into trouble. Like they have confidence in Matt Brash going 2. They could legitimately piggyback George Kirby because they have Logan Gilbert game 3. Like they have so many bullets that they can fire and so many ways that they can mix and match. And I like Scott Service. I'm really excited to see Scott Service on this big stage, being able to mix and match and being able to be a manager and really flex those muscles. I think the Mariners have more bullets to fire in the pitching department. The only way I see the Blue Jays winning is, 1, if Jose Barrios can turn in a decent outing in game 3, and 2 is they just have to mash. And that's possible, right? They've been one of the best offenses in the second half and really have been phenomenal down the stretch here with the bat. But like Jack mentioned, they haven't been that great on the mound down the final stretch here. And I think there is some Mariner magic right now, but it is tough to play in the Rogers Center. We know that. And that is a very, very cool environment in the postseason.
And what I will say is if we do get a game 1 matchup of Manoah and Luis Castillo, the combined testosterone levels of those two is going to be off the charts. It's going to be the biggest dude off that we see.
I like that.
You know what? I'm going to go with the Blue Jays in 2. And the reason why I'm going with the Blue Jays in 2 is because if it goes 3, I think the Mariners win. And this is one of those series that I've been talking about for a while, that where the Blue Jays can win games where depth is not as important. So in my opinion, I think the Blue Jays have a very strong shot to win that game 1. And if you give me Gausman versus Ray in a must-win game for the Blue Jays, because the Mariners bullpen is fantastic, but it's not like the Blue Jays bullpen is that bad either. And Jordan Romano in Canada is the best reliever in baseball. If you look at his stats in Canada, it's absurd. He's got a 0.6 ERA or something disgusting. I think, they got Simber, they got Meza, they got Bass, they got Pop. They have a lot of, they're not as good as the Mariners. I'm not saying that they're as good as the Mariners, but I don't think that we can forget that the Blue Jays bullpen is solid. I think they have enough offense to beat up on at least Robbie Ray. And then I think Manoah, Castillo, you give the edge to Manoah. So I'm going to go Blue Jays in 2.
You said his home ERA, Romano, this year was 0.6. Add a half a run. 1.1, which is still good.
Okay.
But
is that bad? Is he bad at home?
1-1. Yeah, opponents hitting 150. They could only be hitting 120, but they're hitting 150.
Oh, wow.
I over-exaggerated it.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got Toronto in 2.
Yep.
Aram,
I've got Seattle in 3.
Okay, I've got Seattle in 3 too.
I think that's the answer. I think it's either Seattle in 3 or Blue Jays in 2, because if the Blue Jays don't win those 2, Seattle will win.
Yeah.
There's only one other option there, right? It would be Blue Jays in
Seattle in 2.
Or Seattle in 2. Yeah, that's the only other option.
Or you could have Toronto in 3.
You could have Toronto.
Oh, you could have Toronto in 3. All right,
fuck 4 different outcomes here.
Yeah.
We up the number of outcomes when we get to the NLDS, and all 3 of us have the Mets. No,
I have the Padres.
Yeah, Peter has the Padres, like a weirdo. All right, so Peter, you go first. Padres, Dodgers in the 1-5. What are you feeling?
It's a 5-game series, right? Or is it 7?
No,
it's 5. I'm gonna go. The Padres pitching is going to run out. I'm gonna go Dodgers in 4. I think the Padres can sneak one in there.
That would suck.
The Dodgers in 4.
That would stink.
The Dodgers are just an elite team. You're going to get healthy Julio Urias. You're going to get healthy Clayton Kershaw. And then you're going to have combinations of Gonsolin and Anderson. Their bullpen is fantastic. I hope they leave Kimbrel off it, even though he's been the closer. They're a better bullpen without him. Their offense is so good. And if you look at the way they've played each other, the Dodgers they're just the best team in baseball. They're going to win in 4, and they'll probably win in 3, but I'm giving the Padres 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree. I was hoping we could pretend this thing goes to 5, but yeah, it's over in 4. I do think the Padres still won at home.
No,
But
you had the Mets, didn't you?
oh, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Sorry.
Don't the Padres board bandwagon with me.
Mets. Yeah, Mets Dodgers here. Okay.
Yeah, start focusing in.
I'm locked in. Honestly, I don't think it's too much different. I really don't trust the Mets in this series very much. I think they're going to get worked. I think they're going to get depleted a little bit more than people think they are in that 3-game set. I think they're going to use the bullpen. I think they're going to stretch Scherzer out. I think they're going to pretty much pull out every single stop to get by the Padres. They're going to get to the Dodgers, who have just been sitting patiently waiting for them. And I think it's going to be Dodgers in 4.
If the Mets beat the Padres in 2, I would say the Dodgers in 4. But because I have the Mets beating the Padres in 3, I'm going to say Dodgers in 3. I just don't think you're going to get an adequately rested DeGrom, and that means Scherzer is going game 3. So he would likely not be 100%. He'd be on short rest for game 3 of that NLDS series. So I think that I'm with Aram. I think this pitching staff is going to get depleted during the wild card series because it's going to be all systems go to get to the NLDS. And once they get there, I don't think they're going to have much left in the tank.
Yeah.
You got to say that the Mets get 1, right?
Dodgers in 3.
I like it. Okay, let's roll. So we're all on the Dodgers at this point. I had the Padres beating the Mets. You guys had the Mets beating the Padres, but both of them fall to the Dodgers in quick work.
Yep.
Cardinals, Braves. All 3 of us had the Cardinals.
Yes.
Cards, Braves in the NLDS. I can go first. I think Atlanta is built for some serious success.
Yeah.
I say Atlanta in 4. I think that they may lose that Morton start in game 3, but I think game 4, they line up really well.
Aram?
If they had a healthy Spencer Strider, I'm not thinking twice. I'm going Braves. I've been saying Braves all year. I had them to win the division. I think they're going to repeat, but the Strider injury definitely is a tough blow. I would almost love to see them not even use Strider in the first series, try to get by without him to get to the Dodgers.
And but I think they can.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I got the Braves kind of cruising through here pretty easily.
How many games?
4.
Okay.
I think the Cardinals are going to give them more than we're talking about because I think the Cardinals can hit anybody. Like, I think Fried's great. I think Wright's great. And I think Morton's great. And if you don't use Strider, the Cardinals can hit with this team. I'm going to go Braves in 5 in a very, very competitive series till the end. Cardinals, I just think that the Cardinals are fantastic on most sides of the ball besides starting pitching. But I think they'll be able to hit the starters for the Braves. So, again, high scoring, but I think the Braves win in 5, but it's going to be close, I think.
I think with the Braves bullpen, well, what they've got, even Kenley's the biggest question, right? But, I mean, what they've got with Rizal in the back end and then the rest of the guys that have just been shoving out of that pen. Obviously, their starting pitching is great. With or without Strider, with Strider, it's insane. I think it's going to be tough to beat the Cardinals in St. Louis, but I think the Braves are going to dominate them at home, and I think they've just got too much going for them. But I do think it's going to be a fun series. I think this might be one of the better series that we'll get this postseason, especially in the early going.
I was going to say, if we do get Braves Cardinals, I'm going to be on every pitch of this series. It's going to be fantastic.
And I hope the Cardinals win. I hope I'm wrong on this one because I would love to see them. I'm all in. Peter and I talked about it last episode. I'm all in on the Cardinals, storyline here. I would love to see Pujols and Yachty and Waino win it.
You're just kind of a narrative sheep.
Absolutely. That's the editor in me.
Yeah. Braves are going to be at home game 5, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think 2 in Atlanta, back 2 in St. Louis, and then game 5 back in Atlanta.
I almost think the Braves win both in Atlanta. The Cardinals win both at Busch. and then the Braves win the 5th in Atlanta again. I think it's one of those type of series where it's home field advantage, and that's what matters most. It's so hard to play in Atlanta. If we're talking about fields, we're talking about Progressive, and you're seeing the chop and the lights come on. It just looks like you're walking into a graveyard there. But I don't want to play in the red. I don't know what they call it in St. Louis. What is it like? It looks like a Red Sea or a Red Ocean.
They call it Bush.
Bush.
Peter, you're a big fan of the chop, right?
I have no comment. Just like I have no comment on anything because you don't need my comment.
How do you feel about Barry Bonds, Peter?
Shut the fuck up. I don't care.
Yankees Guardians in the 2-3. I think this is where the Yankees are one and done here. I like Cleveland to beat the Yankees, and I like it to happen in 4 games.
Aram, you go first.
Cleveland in 5. I'm not even kidding. I actually think this is how I think this series is going to go. And this is a big just gut. I'm not going to pull any stats really, other than the fact that I do think the offense has shown me a lot of really good things, shown us some really good things as of late. But the Guardians are such a fundamentally sound team. They're going to make all the plays. I see the Yankees booting the ball around, frustrating strikeouts, leaving runners on base. It piles up. Yankee Stadium, they start booing their own players in a playoff series. Stanton swings at a slider 5 feet outside for the 3rd time in an at-bat. And the Guardians just feed off of it. Andres Jimenez is going to be pesky. Ahmed Rosario is going to be pesky. Jose Ramirez is going to feast on the short porch. The Guardians are going to pick the Yankees apart, and ultimately, I think they are going to be able to win this series in 5. See ya in the ALCS.
I'm happy either way. Yes, I am. Because I have just been bandwagoning these Guardians now for too long. And I would love to see the Guardians make it. But at the same time, I'm a Yankee fan. So I'd love to see the Yankees make it. In order to hedge happiness, I'm going to go the Guardians in 5. I think the Guardians beat the Yankees. And if they don't, I'm happy. But for the respect of predictions, I agree with you guys. I think the Guardians are a fundamentally sound ball club, and we'll see what we get from Garrett Cole. I said it on this podcast. If Garrett Cole doesn't perform like an ace of ace, they're a 1st-round exit. Do I truly believe he will? No. They will be a 1st-round exit. Prove me wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. I would love to be, but I probably won't be proven wrong, unfortunately.
At Yankee Stadium, it'll likely be Bieber and Cole. Do you think the Yankees would be favored in that game? Because I'd put my life savings on the Guardians in that game.
They'll be favored in that game.
Bieber versus Cole. Yeah.
They'll be favored. No, like home field advantage in Yankee Stadium, they'll be favored. They won't win, but they'll be favored.
And all the money will be pouring on the Yankees, so they'll even be more heavily favored, right?
I'd put my life savings on Cleveland in that game.
Please do.
How has your track record been? Because that kind of makes me like the Yankees.
Remember promo code Fade Jack?
Yeah, that was a real thing that happened last year.
That wasn't me. I didn't even come up with that. That just happened by itself.
Yeah. All right. So I've got Cleveland in 4. You 2 have Cleveland in 5. Pete, you have Toronto in 2, right?
Yes.
I think me and Arm have Seattle in 3. They take on the Astros. I say gentleman sweep regardless of who gets through. Houston in 4.
I'm going to give again the Blue Jays 1 game, but I'm going with the Astros here. The Astros, it's 1A and 1B with the Dodgers. I said that yesterday, and I fully believe it. I think the Astros might win the World Series. Like, we're going to get to it. I would say the Blue Jays get 1 in, but give me the Astros in 4.
Yeah.
I think Manoah, he's going to go up against Verlander and lose. I think Astros in 3. Fuck it. They ain't winning.
Lord.
Yep, Astros in 3.
Lord.
I agree. Astros in 3. This Astros team.
Wait, no, you're Mariners, though.
Oh, why am I?
Remember, you're back to Mariners.
I know, but I am in on Astros in 3. It's the same thing. Like I agree, Astros are winning in 3 no matter who they play. Yeah, they are just so good. And when you look at what they've got going on pitching wise, I think their rotation, we talked about it yesterday, is up there with anybody. But now that they've got this weapon in Hunter Brown that can go multiple innings on a piggyback, which I can't emphasize enough how important it is having guys like that in the postseason. When you have that, short leash, blow up start. When you want to try to maybe go with a bullpen game, it really makes it less of a bullpen game. He has been phenomenal. And I really think he's going to be a weapon for them. And then they just have so many ways they can mix and match their lineup. Jordan finally looks like he's back from that wrist hand injury fully and looks great. I think they're going to steamroll through the postseason. I think they're going to sweep, whether it is the Blue Jays or the Mariners. In this case, I have the Mariners making it. Astros, unfortunately, are going to end the magic there. But the Mariners, I think you'd be pretty happy with that scenario to make it this far anyway. So I only feel so bad there.
Go to the NLCS.
Yeah.
Are you Astros in 3?
I'm Astros in 4.
Astros in 4. You're giving them 1 against the Mariners.
I think game 3 or something like
Kirby.
A Gilbert or a Kirby just sneaks a win out of here, and then
Kirby.
They turn it back to whoever the hell.
That'll be the Penn Murphy game.
Yeah,
I'll remember that.
The Matt Brash game. That's
Brash game. The Matthew Festa game.
Yeah.
All right, NLCS. Do we all have Dodgers Braves?
This one's a motherfucker.
This is a beast. I'm on every pitch of this.
Every pitch.
I will say the Dodgers in 7. I have no idea how the rotations are going to stack up at this point, but I mean, I think that there are going to be a ton of home wins in this series. I do. I think that the Dodgers are going to win a lot of games in LA. I think the Braves are going to win a lot of games in Atlanta. And at the end, the Dodgers are going to have 4 wins and the Braves are going to have 3 wins. Like it's as simple analysis as you could possibly get. But I see these two like Tyson and Evander, right? Just both are so close to getting KO'd. And I think that the Dodgers are the ones that just kind of like limp out.
I think this is the Dodgers, Braves, and Astros are the 3 best teams, I think, in this playoffs. And I think that this is basically the World Series, right? Unless you include the Astros, which you have to. But I will go with the Dodgers in. It's just it's so dependent on Strider's health. But if he is not right, I'm going to go with the Dodgers in 7 as well. I'll go with the Dodgers in 7. And it's obviously I want to see what Strider looks like. But using our knowledge to this point where we don't think he's going to be fully healthy, Dodgers went out.
I go Braves in 7.
Oh,
I love it. I mean,
this team is so freaking good. We're talking about the defending champs who added an all-star center fielder and potentially, a top 15 starter in baseball in Spencer Strider. But even just Michael Harris alone, I mean, being able to add him, and then Ronald Acuna finally looks like he's starting to get his legs back under him a little bit.
They won it without him.
Yeah, they won it without him. Now they add him back. They add Michael Harris, who seems to just have a flair for the big moments. I am going to tell you now, get ready. I can already envision the Michael Harris big home run, the bat flip, and everybody goes wild and everyone's like, this guy is a superstar. Like, this is going to be the postseason where Michael Harris reminds us that he's right there with J-Rod, and I think he's going to have his big defining moment in this series. This Braves team is so freaking good. I'm all the way in on them, and I think they're going to make it back to the World Series, which is pretty amazing.
That's wild.
I'm so in between. I just think, what are the Braves best at? Their bullpen is elite, but the Dodgers have as elite bullpen. The starting rotation, Arias, Fried, who wins? I think Arias is better. I do. But Fried is such a dog in the playoffs.
So is Arias.
And yeah, so is Arias. Like, offense, Braves are a loaded offense, but the Dodgers have a better offense statistically. The Plums.
You gave your pick.
Dodgers. Okay. Dodgers. I'm going with it. I'm sticking with it. That's what I want. But it's so close.
7?
In 7.
Yeah. Okay. And you've got Braves in 7, Orm?
Yep.
Okay. ALCS. All 3 of us have Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Astros and Guardians. I say Houston in a gentleman's sweep. So Houston in 5. I think that it's going to be a max effort road for Cleveland to get through Tampa and then the Yankees. And I think that Houston is not going to be phased very much in the ALDS, whether it be by Toronto or by Seattle. And I think that Houston, they are just so good. I mean, they feel like this Astros team is very easy to root for some reason. I just think they're the big bad motherfuckers in this postseason, and I think that they're going to show that against a team that a lot of people are going to latch onto. But I think it's going to be a pretty ruthless 5-game series win for Houston.
I agree verbatim. Astros in 5. Couldn't have said it better myself. I don't need to add shit other than I could see Jordan just having a crazy playoffs. Like when you're talking about Aram with Michael Harris, like Jordan's kind of almost been the forgotten player this year in a way because, the Shohei Judge debate, and then people forgot kind of that Jordan's been the second best hitter in the American League and put up a type of season that is just unheard of if it weren't for Aaron Judge. I think Jordan jumps into the playoff stage and goes crazy. And people think to themselves, with the Yankees getting bounced in the first round, being like, oh shit, we forgot about Jordan.
Well, and wasn't he last year's ALCS MVP? Like he's already showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's going to hit.
Yeah, he slugged 612 this year. Like to Peter's point, I don't think a lot of people realize how freaking insane Jordan, as a DH or a shitty outfielder, Jordan has a 6.6 FWAR. And remember, like he got hurt in the outfield, so they kind of said, okay, let's stop with that. And also, he's been dealing with a messed up hand. I think fully healthy Jordan, he played 134 games this year. He finishes with 45 home runs, and he probably has a 200 WRC plus. He finished with a 184 anyway. So the one thing I will say about the Astros is this Astros team, even minus Carlos Correa, is better than last year's Astros team.
Yes.
Which lost in the World Series. And the reason why it's better is you add Verlander, you replace Correa with Pena, which of course that's a drop off, but he makes up for a lot of the things that Correa excelled at last year. And then how about Alex Bregman, one of my least favorite players in Major League Baseball, just turning in a 5.5 FWAR season? Like this team is disgusting. Yeah. They're going to get there in 6 though. I think Cleveland grabs onto the Magic and steals 2.
Okay. Altuve has been the 4th best hitter in baseball in WRC plus.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I'm not mistaken. I mean, that is unbelievable. The Astros will cruise.
Remember when we called him a 3 true outcome guy as a joke, but like it's just funny since then. 14% K rates.
Also,
so the only reason that the Guardians win one is Cal gets one at home.
Yeah, fair.
Fair.
No, he's gonna give up 10 earned runs in that one. I'm gonna be so. You have to understand. I hope he shoves in the postseason. Like I hope it'll make me feel so much better when he gets 10 spotted. I'm gonna put my head through a wall.
So what are you gonna get? Are you gonna get 3.38 or like Cal? What are you gonna get?
I was thinking about getting his number in Guardians
font
coloring. Yeah, font.
And where 40, are you gonna do 47? It? Like, are you gonna do it on? Like,
I'm putting it. So, dude, arthroscopic hip surgery. They go. It's 3 incisions that create a triangle. And it's little scar, little scar, little scar. In that triangle. In the middle of the triangle will be the 47.
So you just want to remember 2022 is a year of pure pain.
A year, yes, exactly. Just a year of misery. Jack, that's my plan.
I brought this up to Aram. You know those friendship bracelets, or like you get with your boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, and it's like the other sides of heart, and like you put them together and it's a heart. I was thinking Aram and I could do that on our thighs. So when we touch thighs, it like completes a heart with Cal's face in the middle.
Yeah, no. So that's typically what I do when I bro down with my guys is touch.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, Aram and I are always touching thighs.
Yeah, you guys are always touching thighs. I would ask Aram if he likes you enough to do that.
I do. If he promises just not to bring it up, like you'll just tap me on the shoulder, touch thighs, but we don't talk about the Cal Quantrill ERA.
So if Cal gets me 2 wins in the postseason, because most likely I'm going to be tailing every single time.
Gets you 2 wins in the postseason, yeah.
Gets me 2 wins as like me, Peter Apple, not Cleveland, whatever. It's about me. I will get a tattoo with Arm of Cal.
Let's go. I'm in. Like actual pitcher wins, or just like betting W's.
I'm just gonna get Cal. just CAL.
But I'm saying like
it kind of
two
relates to California, where
betting
I'm
wins
from.
or like wins in like the win column of his record.
No, 2 betting wins for me. Like the Guardians win the game.
So who would be a funnier podcast guest before we move on to the World Series? Would Cal Quantrill be a funnier podcast guest, or would Paul Quantrill, his dad, be a better podcast guest?
I want them both on.
His dad was a pro ball
history.
player. I just imagine Peter saying, "Listen, Paul, I love your son. Like in a weird way, I love your son."
Yeah. Arm and I are going to show him our tattoos of his son on our body. He's gonna be like, "Get me the fuck out of here. These guys are so weird."
I know, that's the worst part is I don't even like him.
Yeah, I hate your son.
I hate your son, but he's permanently on my fucking body.
Oh, gross. So gross. All right. World Series. Let's talk about it. Astros, Dodgers for me and Peter. Astros, Braves for Aram. I have the Astros winning in 6. Again, heavyweight fight in the NLCS. I think the Dodgers empty the tank. They try and get it back. I think that Houston's going to have something left. And continuing on Aram's point that this is a better team, I think you look at the starting rotation because Lance McCullers, he did not throw in the World Series, if I remember correctly.
No, he did not.
So that World Series rotation where they lost to Atlanta in 6 was Valdez, Luis Garcia, Urquidy, and Odorizzi.
Well, Morton was when Morton got hurt in the DS, right? Or in the CS, in the championship series, right? When he broke his leg.
I thought he got hurt in the World Series.
Did he get hurt in the World Series?
I thought he got hurt in the World Series.
So he was in that rotation as well.
No, I'm talking Houston.
Oh, we're talking Houston.
Houston. Yeah, it was Framber Valdez, Luis Garcia, Jose Urquidy, and was it Jake Odorizzi?
I think so. But
and then Javier is the swingman, right?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
This is a much improved Christian Javier, which we know. You add Justin Verlander. This is a somehow improved Framber Valdez.
And bullpen. Oh, my God.
And bullpen. And I don't care who you go to in game 4. It can be a combination of Luis Garcia, who I think is as good, and Hunter Brown as the swingman type. So you take your world-class swingman, put him in the rotation, and you add another world-class
Literally replaced him. Literally replaced him.
With someone just as good at this point.
Yep.
Who
they will plug in the rotation in the future and will be disgusting as well.
Playoff McCullers.
Playoff McCullers. I totally forgot about Lance McCullers. McCullers probably starts game 4, and you have Luis Garcia, Urquidy, and Hunter Brown, and the bullpen is swingman.
So much better. It's crazy.
It's so much better. Then you look at the bullpen. This has been one of the best bullpens in baseball all year long. Then you look at the offense. It's kind of the same thing as it was last year. And you mentioned the absence of Correa, but you add guys. Like, people forget they have Trey Mancini in the fold right now. And I know Mancini really stunk it up over the last month or so, but Trey Mancini's Trey Mancini, and he's going to be a bat that you can go to.
And also just how much better Bregman has been. Even Altuve somehow being better. Jordan, statistically speaking, has been better. And then even Vasquez, right? Like that's a big boost offensively from what they've been consistently getting behind the dish. It's an overall better offense top to bottom, and the pitching's not even close.
I think this is the one that the Astros win, and this is that World Series that you cannot argue with.
Yep.
I agree. I think it comes down to the fact that the Dodgers and the Braves, like you said, have a dogfight in the NLCS. I'm going to give the Dodgers a ton of credit here because I do think that if it weren't for that, the Dodgers would win the World Series. But I think it's going to be a beatdown, and the Dodgers don't have quite the starting pitching depth. And my brain says that the Dodgers win. But if we're going to the Plums say that the Astros win in 7 in Los Angeles. Game 7, Astros win out. The Dodgers pitching just can't hold up quite like that. The Astros have as good, if not better, of a bullpen, as good of an offense, and the Astros win in Game 7 in one of the best World Series games that we've ever seen, highlighted by a Jordan tank. And Jordan wins the MVP in the World Series.
World Series MVP. Okay.
All right. Is it my turn?
Yep.
I got Astros in 6.
Yep.
I think they take care of biz. Might not be the most exciting World Series ever. I think Verlander's going to shove. I think it's going to be ridiculous what he does this postseason. I really think he's going to be good to go, and he's been waiting for this, I think, for some time now. Ultimately, what they have, the way that the Astros can mix and match pitching wise, is just going to be a problem, and the offense will go toe to toe with the Braves. But I'm going to say Astros in 6.
We're done. Wow. That man is going to get them to an ALCS.
It's his Stanford headshot. What's a worse photo? His Stanford headshot or his Guardians headshot?
They're both electric.
The Stanford,
beautiful man.
The Stanford headshot's probably the worst photo, right?
So which series pick do you feel the worst about? I can tell you which one I feel the worst about.
Yeah. For me, it's probably the Dodgers over the Braves in the NLCS.
For me, it's the Blue Jays over the Mariners. I have no idea.
Mine is Mariners over the Blue Jays. That's the one I feel the worst about too. So I think Peter and I are in the same boat here. Of just that series being a total coin flip.
I have more confidence in the Padres beating the Mets than you than the Blue Jays beating the Mariners.
That's one.
I just think that the Padres, with the lack of depth not mattering as much, you give me Musgrove, Snell, and Darvish, they can go toe-to-toe with DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett. And if Juan Soto figures something out and is electric, and then you give me Manny Machado too, the one reason it's just Jake Cronenworth has not been good this year for the Padres. So that offense isn't as good as I would like it to be. And then the Mets bullpen outside of Diaz and Ottavino, it has not impressed me. So I think that the Padres can win this in 3, but I have no confidence in my Blue Jays pick over the Mariners. 0. I just had to pick one.
You did have to pick one. That's the beauty of picks.
Yeah. 0 confidence in it.
Anything else?
What's your least confident?
I said
Braves over the Dodgers.
Yeah. Dodgers over
Dodgers, Braves. That's it. Yeah, I don't know either. That's another good one.
That's
I have more confidence in the Padres beating the Mets than the Dodgers beating the Braves.
Yeah. One other note, Phil Nevin signed a 1-year deal with the Angels to be the manager.
With new ownership.
They're going to be so good next year.
I think that's the right move. Keep a familiar face there. Guy doesn't need to be a rocket scientist. Just give him a decent team. I think they need a player, like a player's coach and a former player like Phil Nevin. I like the move. I think it works. We'll see how it goes next year.
Who do you think is going to be the next manager of the White Sox?
They said they wanted somebody with recent coaching experience. Well, would you be surprised if it was like Joe Girardi?
No, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Girardi. I think that it should be. I saw Carlos Beltran was a name that was floated. I think that'd be.
I wonder what Don Mattingly's trying to do. Like,
Miami's more of a retirement place than Chicago is.
Yeah, that is fair.
You don't think they're going to keep Miguel Cairo, Jack?
They're going to interview him. I don't think he's going to have the job. I think it's going to be Joe Espada, who's like the biggest name in coaching right now. He's the bench coach for the Astros. Like, he's going to be the next guy that makes the jump to major league manager. And I think it's going to be Joe Espada.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I also have another important headline for you. This comes from Danielle Allentuck of the Colorado Springs Gazette, who says Rockies and Jose Urania interested in a reunion.
Yes.
I'd be open. I'd like to play here, said Urania. I think he'd like to play anywhere. That said, 1.5 whip this season, but he had a good Sierra, 4.82, 4.53 FIP.
What is Sierra?
This guy's dude. You're asking the wrong guy. I have no idea what that stands for.
Peter, do you know what Sierra stands for?
I don't know what it stands for. I know it's important. I think it's like skill interactive ERA.
Yes. I don't know what that means.
Skill interactive ERA.
Sierra quantifies a pitcher's performance. Here we go. MLB.com. I got a 404 error message on the MLB.com glossary. It doesn't exist anymore. Here's what popped up on Google. Sierra quantifies a pitcher's performance by trying to eliminate factors the pitcher can't control by himself. But unlike a stat such as xFIP, Sierra considers balls in play and adjusts for the type of ball in play.
That matters.
What does that mean?
That's like hard hit rates and stuff like that. Like that's kind of like XERA.
I thought that's what FIP did.
That's my
FIP
favorite.
FIP is just like walks, home runs, strikeouts.
XFIP.
XFIP is normalizing the home run to fly ball rate.
Yeah, but isn't that what Sierra is? Like, that's what's
more
so
complex.
hard. My favorite is when people try and define WRC plus. What does WRC plus mean? Oh, it's just like the all-encompassing hitting stat. It talks
100 is average.
100 is average. Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay.
Better than fucking QBR, dude. QBR sticks.
QBR is so stupid. And what's the difference between quarterback rating and passer rating? I have no idea what it is. It's just bizarre.
That's why you got to use your plums. These are the plum picks.
Yeah, plum picks, and you've got the Padres beating them. So, all right.
Do you think that's stupid? Hold on. Do you think that's stupid?
It's too late now. You already said it.
No, I'm in. I'm saying, do you think
I think it's blatantly idiotic. All right. Yeah. And with that, no, actually, I like it. I think it's very possible. I don't think it's nuts at all.
So what have the Mets been doing lately?
Dude, the Mets choke. That's what they do.
I asked Chris Longo, our Mets guy, and I said, Mets fans were up in arms about me calling their loss to the Braves a collapse. And I asked Chris, what would you call it? They had a 10.5 game lead on June 1st. And while the Braves never stopped, the Mets, we went over these schedules when we were predicting, and you picked the Braves. And I said, I just can't not go with the Mets because they had a few games lead.
I didn't feel good about it.
And their schedule was so easy.
It was the easiest schedule ever.
And then not only did they play below 500 ball against that schedule, they got swept by the Braves.
Yeah.
So I said, Chris, what would you call it? And he said, we lost a grip. And then he said, he's lost a grip. He said, and I was like, would you call it a choke? And he said, yeah, I think that's a better word. And I was like, is that better than collapse?
It's semantics.
It's semantics.
It's because they're comparing the collapse to 7-game lead with 17 to go. That's a collapse. That's an utter collapse. This is more of like, that was like the London Bridge collapsing. This is more like the, casual drawbridge falling apart.
Yeah, or like slightly decaying, and sometimes the construction just doesn't.
And then the Braves came through and just knocked it over.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. It's like demoing the Metrodome or something like that, right? It's the thing's on its last legs anyways. Just put it out of its misery.
And the Braves did that. Braves did it.
Also, it's getting a bit chilly. We have a new merch code that will be up by the time that you hear this podcast. Use code October15 for 15% off Just Baseball merch. That's code October15. It will be live by the time you are listening to this. Get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a hat, be repping the Just Baseball merch. If you are at a playoff game, make sure you take a picture, send it to us on Instagram at Just Baseball Show. We will be putting you on our story, shouting you out too. So there's a little bit of extra benefit there. You get your Instagram shouted out if you take a picture of yourself in the merch at a playoff game, as well as you get 15% off using the code October15. You can find the merch store through the episode link in our bio. We give you guys all this free content. It helps us out immensely if you go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. And if you could rate this podcast 5 stars, it's the end of the regular season. We hope that you guys enjoyed this podcast. Give us a 5-star review. Why not? Takes 8 seconds. Thank you, everybody. All right.